Okay, first and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rahak and double honors to the apostles and elders of the Great Millstone. Now, I would watch this video real quick. It's titled Chicago Ice Raids, Trump Threatens Chipocalypse. Chipocalypse. I love the smell of deportations. So it's going into how Trump's pretty much, ICE over there in Chicago, but also how he wants to bring the troops in. Right? So we're gonna watch this real quick because it brought a couple things to mind.
My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here for the next couple hours to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. President Trump taking to social media here amid questions over when ramped-up immigration efforts will begin in the city of Chicago. Chipocalypse now, the president just wrote on his Truth Social, an obvious play there on Apocalypse Now. This is a look at that post with an image of Trump saying, quote, "I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War." That, of course, referencing yes.
Is that not crazy? Is that not crazy? I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War. This is a president speaking about a city in his own country. The division here is at an all-time high.
Yesterday, when President Trump signed his 200th executive order, changing the name of the Department of Defense back to the Department of War. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, a Democrat, has said that these ramped-up efforts are expected to begin at some point today, as there are several events that are taking place across the city. We've already seen a handful of protesters who have shown up outside of an ICE location, and we do have a video of that right here. Let's take a look, a live look coming in from Fox News, kind of dark, but that is outside of an ICE facility. Now, we saw one person there attempting to block a vehicle from leaving, the others giving the middle finger to the agents and screaming at them while holding up their phones. We do have that video that I want to play for you here, very brief, that actually shows as we saw the vehicles being blocked. It came in from Asher Red. He is over with our Fox News team and has been out there. We'll play that for you here in just a bit. Now, we also know that Pritzker said during a news conference this week that Chicago residents should record every ICE interaction to ensure they are following the law. President Trump called on Pritzker to ask him for help with crime and illegal immigration in the city, but Pritzker refused, saying that he does not want Trump's help. That led to a week-long back and forth there between the two leaders. Now, I do want to pop that video up that I was just talking about here, again, coming in from Asher Red in Chicago, where you can see a protester, one of them that's in that video, pushing an ICE vehicle, trying to hold them back as they're trying to leave that ICE facility. No injuries were reported there, no reports of any arrests, but again, you can see that happening in this video provided by Asher Red from a short time ago. We also have right here, this is over in D.C., one of the live protests going on today, and this is actually about the National Guard stationed in the nation's capital, not expected to leave anytime soon. The deployment of the troops has been extended, we're told, through at least the end of November, so they will be there for several months. President Trump saying that he's going to send the National Guard troops elsewhere as part of his crackdown on crime. He named Chicago and New York City as locations where he would send the troops, but added that New Orleans might actually be first. Right here again, you can see hundreds of protesters that have taken.
That martial law is right around the corner, right? Trump mentioning what he plans on doing, what he wants to do. He's basically telling you what they're gonna do, right? And ultimately, it's gonna come to all these states.
The streets with signs, some of them in English and some in Spanish. I want to lift up the audio really briefly to listen in here. So the camera person there showing different angles of everything, but you can hear some of the background noise. Folks also out there taking photos of all of this. Again, they do have signs that are essentially saying end the occupation of D.C. By the National Guard. These protests are expected to take place nationwide today, some of them in Chicago, starting later on this evening. We will, of course, bring you the images as we do get them. For now, I do want to step away for a quick 2-minute commercial break, but
What were they chanting? Hands up, fight back. Fight it back against what? The government, the president, the people against the state, against the government. If that's not division, I don't know what is. This is Luke chapter 12. Okay, there we go. Luke chapter 12, starting at verse 49. It says, Hamashiach divides men. I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? Right, so the Lord, when he's returning, he's not come to bring peace and prosperity to this world. He's coming to send a fire, right? Chaos. You know, figuratively and literally. Right, he's gonna come to bring chaos, death, judgment, as well as going into the literal fire, right, through the missiles and the lasers from his chariots. But I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how am I straightened till it become accomplished? Right, that baptism going into with what? You know, not with water, but with this knowledge, you know, this truth. Suppose ye that I am come to give peace on the earth? I tell you, nay, but rather division. Right, and as we seen in that video, this is just the beginning of the divisions. Right, it's going to get a lot worse. And the division has been going on for a long time, right? Dealing with the Democrats and Republicans, left, right, which ultimately they're working towards the same goal. But the majority of people don't know that, right? But those in higher up, they know they're working towards the same goal. You know, they're all working towards that same order. Suppose ye that I have come to give peace on the earth. I tell you, nay. So the Lord says, nah, I ain't come to bring peace to the earth, but rather division. Right? Division, chaos. For from henceforth there shall be 5 in one house divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. The father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father, the mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Right, going into all the division that the Lord is going to bring. And why is he going to bring that division? You know, what comes with division? Matthew chapter 12, verse 25, Slakia. This is Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts, and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Right, so with division comes desolation. And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Right, so that's why the Lord's coming to bring the division, because ultimately he's coming to bring down this world, bring down Esau's authority, right, bring down wickedness. Right, and this is going back to this video. This shows you.
Never thought $100.
But we will have live coverage coming up on the other side. Capital not expected to leave anytime.
This shows you that America, the clock's ticking, bro. Not just America, but Esau in general. The clock is ticking. Your time is up. Right? We're just waiting out the days at this point. You know, the Lord's returning soon. Look at all the division going on. Right? Soon it's going to get worse. You know, America just going with the motions right now. But when the Lord really start ramping up everything, man, it's going to be hell out here. Right? So the Esau ain't got much time left, bro. Like it's evident. Like Esau is through. Right? We're literally just waiting at this point. You know, waiting on the other major prophecies to come out. Right? Being Jacob's trouble. You know, the mark of the beast, famine of the word. Right? Speaking of the mark of the beast, that's what first came to my mind when I seen this video. Right? It says Chipocalypse, but I read it as Chipocalypse. Right? And knowing Esau, you really can't put nothing past him. Right? So I could be reaching very well, but you really can't put nothing past this devil. Right? Scriptures talk about how deceiving they are. You know, so me reading Chipocalypse, instantly I thought of Mark of the Beast, right? Because Revelations 13 and 16 says that he causes all both small and great. You know, it's going to be a worldwide thing. And that's what an apocalypse is. A worldwide ending event. And when that chip rolls out, it is going to be a worldwide ending event. Right? Because once that chip is the end all be all. Right? Once that rolls out, it's like a zombie apocalypse. You know, and that's ultimately what it's going to be. Right? You have that chip, you're considered a zombie in the eyes of us. Right? In the eyes of the Lord's elect, Lord willing we be of that number. But you're considered a zombie. You know, and once that chip is out, once it becomes mandatory, the return of the Lord is right around the corner. Right? It's already right around the corner. But once that happens, we might as well just start looking up into the sky waiting. Right? Because once that rolls out, the quote unquote apocalypse, you know, end of the world, it's in the near future. Right? The very near future. Right? But that's what you know, came to my mind when I first saw the title, not realizing it's speaking on Chicago. But then again, like as I said, you can't put nothing past these devils. I could be reaching, or I could not be. You know, but there was something else, right? I ran across this. Salakia. Just gonna search it up. Alex Carp. Acoustic. Palantir CEO Alex Carp reportedly has acoustic devices or transducers in his office windows to prevent laser eavesdropping. The devices vibrate the glass to disrupt conversations from being captured by external eavesdropping attempts. Right? And yeah, what I had run across was this post. Here it says, turns out Palantir's Alex Carp does value privacy his own. Each of Carp's office windows reportedly have acoustic devices that vibrate the glass with white noise to block laser eavesdropping. The man building surveillance tech shields himself from it. Ironic, right? And this is going into the hypocrisy of Esau. Right here it is, the CEO of a data interrogation company. Right, they basically they spy on people, right, through means of AI and technology. He's over here worrying about his own privacy, right? But here it is, he's invading everyone else's. You know, and that's the hypocrisy the Lord hates. You know, and it makes you wonder why. Right? When I was on the original post that I seen, I think I was looking into the comments and they were just questioning, like, oh, what does he really speak? What is he talking about? Right? To where that's so necessary. So let's grab Job chapter 15 verse 34. It's Job chapter 15 verse 34. For the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery. Right? Congregation of hypocrites going into these councils, and their lies, their plans, and their hypocrisy. Right? It's going to be made desolate. Right? The Lord's going to put an end to all of that. When he returns and he brings this devil down. Like I said, here it is. You're the CEO of a company for spying on people ultimately. But you're having these devices placed on your windows because you don't want to be spied on. This is the definition of a hypocrite. But it says, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery. Literally going into hell. What against the Lord when he comes? That fire rains down from his chariots, right? The lasers, right? And the ultimate destruction of this place, right? By way of the lasers and the nuclear missiles. So the Lord's going to put an end to all the lies, the wickedness, the iniquity, right? The hypocrisy of these devils. They conceive mischief and bring forth vanity, and their belly prepareth deceit. Right? Because they purposely get together to devise things and push out iniquity. Right? And that's why the world is the way it is now. Right? That's why you have children being kidnapped 24/7. People dying 24/7, gang violence 24/7. This is all the vibrations that they pushed out. Right? And that's another reason why the world has to come back to cleanse this world by way of what? That fire. Right? That second death. Salakia. This is Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. Right? So, a white noise device on your window, not keeping the Lord from hearing. Right? Because the Lord knows what goes on in your heart, in your mind. Right? That's what heart goes into. The heart is lob, inner man, mind, will, heart, understanding. Inner part, midst of things, heart of man, soul, heart of man, mind, knowledge, thinking, reflection, memory, inclination, resolution, determination of will, conscience. Right? So the Lord knows your inner man. Right? The outward too, but specifically your inner man. So he knows what you really want, what you really believe, what you really want to do, all of that. Right? And so he can judge you according to that as well. Right? You once again, them being hypocrites and liars, right? You can say one thing, but the Lord knows what you really have in mind. Right? But if you're talking to a person and you're telling them this, you're making it look good, all of that, they can't really tell what you're thinking, on the ordinary base level of a person. Right? They can't tell what you're thinking. But the Lord can. He knows what you're truly after. Right? And just through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, right? We know what they're truly after as well. But the Lord, like I said, you can't block out the Lord from eavesdropping, quote unquote. Because this man talk about all type of wicked stuff wherever he's doing, all type of plans that they got, right? But the Lord knows everything. So best believe when you're judged, you're getting what you deserve. Not what you think you deserve, or not what you're showing you deserve, but what you really deserve. if that makes sense. Right? So this devil, right, the Lord's gonna give them what they deserve, man, and we can't wait. Right? All the shit that they do, all this iniquity that they push out. You see what they're doing to the Lord's people now? Even now. Right, with all the ICE raids and stuff. And if they really wanted, right, people who quote unquote don't belong here, which this is a land that they fucking stole, right? Now the people that truly really were here first, they're deporting them. Like, come on, this devil gotta go. Right, but like I was saying, there's a better way you can do that. You don't have to jump out of trucks like a fucking gang with AR-15s in your hand, holding them at people at work at that. Like, come on now, bro. But that just goes to show you that this truly is the devil. Right? That's the only way they know how to do things, is wrong. Harshly, devilishly. Right? So what do you think is going to happen to a world that's ruled by them? And that's why this shit gotta go. You know, that's why we hasten the day of the Lord, to do away with all of this. But continuing, and this won't be a long video. Psalms chapter 11. The Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, a refuge and defense. To the chief musician, a psalm of David. In the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, put I my trust. How say ye to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain? For lo, the wicked bend their bow, they make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privately shoot at the upright in heart. Right? And they're going to, that's what they're going to try and do. Right? The wicked, they're going to try and come up against the Lord's people, right? Persecute them. Going into his elect. But as we read, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes behold, his eyelids try the children of men. Right? So the Lord's seeing and watching everything. The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence his soul hateth. Right? So the Lord trieth the righteous, right? He puts you to a test. And ultimately to what? To better you. Right? He's pure. The trials, there are ways of purifying you, to make you better. But the wicked and him that loveth violence, his soul hateth. So the wicked, Esau, but ultimately everyone who commits wickedness too. Right? Those who live in that, who love violence. Right? Which is a lot of our people as well. And that's why 2/3 gotta go. Verse 6, upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, and in horrible tempest, this shall be the cup of their portion. Right? And this is what's coming to Esau. This is what's coming to 2/3 of our people. This is what's coming to this world. Right? And the only people who are making it out of that is the elect. Right? That fire and the brimstone going into the missiles, the lasers. Right? That second death, that lake of fire. But it's all judgment that's well deserved. Look at what's going on around this world. You mean to tell me people truly think the Lord is fine with them doing what he explicitly said not to do? What do you think is going to happen? When your father tells you not to do something and you're explicitly doing that thing after he's been warning you, right? He done warned you 3 times and you still do it. What do you think is coming after that? A belt. Right? But even though the Lord has beat us multiple times, right, going into his people Israel, because that's who it's really about, they still don't listen. So what does he have to do? He got to restart them, right? And that's why 2/3 are just gonna die. You gotta be put to death and reborn. Right? It's like when you get something and you keep testing it out, and it's just not working. What do? You throw it away and get a new one. Right? So 2/3 of us are going to be thrown away and made new. But upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire, and brimstone. Right? And we can't wait for the judgment the Lord brings upon our enemies. Right? For them to be recompensed for all the wicked they've done to us. Not counting all the wickedness that they do, but even just to us, there's a great judgment coming behind that. But it's well deserved. For the righteous Lord loveth righteousness. His countenance doth behold the upright. Right? And you'll have people say, oh, God loves the sinner, but not the sin. Bro, what? It says, for the righteous Lord loveth righteousness. A sinner is the opposite of righteousness, of a righteous person. Right? And scriptures say that the Lord hated sinners. Right? We can grab that. Is that 2nd Esdras? Or Ecclesiasticus? Yeah, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 6. For the Most High hated sinners, and will repay vengeance unto the ungodly, and keepeth them against the mighty day of their punishment. Right? So that's what's coming to sinners. Right? That's what's coming to 2/3 of our people. That's what's coming to Esau. That's what's coming to these other nations. Right? The only way out of that judgment is through Yahweh Bashim Shai. And the only people who are going to realize that is his elect. So let's close out in the book of Revelations. Right? Going into the judgment coming. Right? The vengeance coming on Esau mainly. This is Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. Right? And that's going into his elect. Right? They're going to be the only ones he's speaking to, that voice is speaking to. Right? They're going to be beamed up, but before the destruction. Right? So that they won't get caught up in that second death. The fire, the plagues meant to destroy Babylon the Great, which is spiritually here, America. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. Right? Which are, since the beginning, right? They just been committing iniquity, going into Esau. Right? Because that's what they were born to do. They were born to be that serpent, born to be wicked. Right? Proverbs 16, verse 4. The Lord hath made all things for himself, yeah, even the wicked for the day of evil. Right? So they were created to be destroyed. The wicked were, it was a lesson. They were created for a lesson. Right? The Lord was going to show us, he told us the right things to do, right? How to operate. And he showed us how not to, through the way of the wicked, and what happens when you do. Right? And he's going to show that when he brings that judgment. Because in order to truly be perfect, you have to know what it's like on both sides. In order to truly understand. And that's the difference between sympathy and empathy, right? Forgot which one is which, I'm being honest with you. So let's search it up. I think sympathy is like, we'll just search it up. Sympathy is feeling sorry or compassionate for someone's misfortune, while empathy is the ability to understand and share someone's feeling with them as if you were in their situation. Right? In order for you to truly understand something, you have to have gone through it too. Right? So the Lord's showing us what wickedness is and why not to do it, right? So that ultimately we can be better. But verse 6, be mercy, Salakia, by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged. And by the fear of the Lord Yahweh, this is, we might as well continue. I wasn't even about to read this, but by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged. And by fear of the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai, men depart from evil. See, that's a spirit, because I wasn't about to read that. But yeah, and what scriptures say, the fear of the Lord Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. The wisdom to do the right things, right? And that's why what? Mercy and truth, iniquity is purged. That truth, again, going into the wisdom, right? To do what's right. So you stop committing all the iniquity, right? That's why it's being purged out. And that's only you're only able to do that from the mercy of the Lord, right? Through giving us this truth, through having his son be that sacrifice for our way back to him, right? Because without that mercy, we wouldn't have had a way back. We would have just have to die, right? Because we were sinners, sinning. The wage of sin is death, right? But through Yahweh Shai, we got this word, this light, right? The light, he shined that light on us so that we can be able to purge this iniquity, right? And that's why we try our best to walk in the ways of the Lord, try our best to follow the laws, right? Just try our best to be righteous at the end of the day. But going back to Revelation, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled to her double. Right, so Esau, they got a lot coming to them. All the shit that they did since the beginning, everything that they did, all the iniquity, all the wickedness that they've done to others, and we only know what's been recorded. There's no telling what all the stuff they truly did. Things that they were like, well, yeah, nah, we be tripping if we, record this, report this. The double of that is coming onto them. And we can't wait for that to happen because they deserve it. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? So Esau think everything just finna be fine. They finna be able to push out this Seheb, right? And live out their new world order dreams. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. Right? And the Lord's going to bring this whole system down in an hour. All the technology, all the wickedness is all going to be brought down and utterly burned with fire. Again, going into the missiles and the lasers from the Lord's chariots. And that day is going to be the greatest day this earth has ever witnessed. It's going to be up there, right? The day wickedness fell and righteousness stood up on the earth, right? Because in this day, the kingdom of heaven is going to be established. And that's what we look forward to. That's something to hasten afterwards. That's something to work towards. But at the end of the day, it's only for Israel. And even further, starting with the Lord's elect. So Lord willing, we be of that number, right? And if you haven't already, repent and start pushing toward given the diligence to be of that number. Unless you want to be a partaker of her plagues. Right? I sure as hell don't. I know brothers out there, sisters out there sure as hell don't. Where I'm ending off right there. I know I was kind of over the place, but Lord willing, this video was still edifying or informative in some way, shape, or form. And once more, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham Rahak Wadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect.